What is a good amount of content? It's something I think about whenever I make a video. I decided to stop myself shy of finishing level 2 to get something out. It's been a busy few weeks outside of development and I wanted to share what I've done so far. I started off moving the character stats into a scriptable object. I had a small bug which I was able to fix by using version control and comparing the asset to see if I'd copied the stats correctly. I started off with a simple hurt box and some global events to change the player's health and update the UI. Working out how much damage enemies do was painful. First of all, it's important to note that you can live on 0 health. It also appears certain damage types are scaled. What this means is when you're low on health, enemies deal less damage to you. After a lot of testing, I found out that enemies that use scaled damage seem to deal a reduction when you're on about 8 health or less. However, water damage does not seem to be scaled. So to make things easier, when a damage box requests to damage the player, it creates event arguments for the amount of health to alter the player by, the impact force of the collision, and whether this damage is scaled or not. If the damage is scaled, it does 77% of its base damage. This seems to be about right, and then it rounds down. Here's water damage being worked on, and changing the sprites for damage. The shader for the damage effect was quite difficult to do, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. For comparison, this is the original game. I didn't really find any tutorials for what I wanted, so I had to figure it out myself, and I'm pretty terrible with shaders. At the same time as the shader, I also worked on the fruit because they required a similar shader. Now, fruit can give you different amounts of health depending on how many times you hit it. It's going to enlarge each time you hit it. Hit it too many times and it will break or take you to a secret level. There's a secret area in the first level that's not been implemented yet, however the fruit health changing based on when you hit is all implemented. I added splash effects for water and realised that I needed it so you could jump through the ground if you were below it. It's quite common in PLOK to bounce up from water, and this can often lead you to jump through a platform and land on top of it. There are a lot of small differences between my version and the original that I'm discovering as I go along. One which I think drastically affects difficulty is that in the original, when you shoot your limbs at a shell collectible, it instantly returns a limb. Previously, the limbs would shoot through shells and you were able to hit enemies this way. I've implemented the original game's way, which makes it harder to hit enemies, to have my difficulty more in line with the original, but I'm not sure about this and I might change my mind on it to make it do what you want to do more often. I started working on art for the next level. I love this original fish design. I had to alter its angles later to be more in line with the original because its head pokes out of the water, but I really like this sketch. Here's the fishes and bridges implemented. What I did notice in the original is that some of the fishes don't jump directly upwards. Unless I'm being blind, I can't see much telegraphing as to which direction they will go until you've witnessed it moving there and going back. You can see here in the original it just kind of teleports back afterwards. I've left my implementation where they all jump upwards for now so you can kind of learn what that enemy does, but I might add telegraphing in different directions to keep difficulty similar in the future, but again I'm not sure this needs to change. Maybe even just changing the fish art so you're expecting it to do a certain thing, but for now it's just going to jump upwards so you can learn it. Next up, I added the saw blade. It was a lot of fun setting this to crazy speeds originally, but I've now got one that seems to cover about the same amount of distance as in the original game in the time that you have with it. I might increase the speed of this in the future because it's quite fun, and also change the animation speed so it feels a bit more like it's travelling fast. Currently it destroys enemies, but there aren't the particle effects you normally see. I've also drawn a present which normally allows PLOK to get a new powerup costume. The power-ups aren't implemented yet, but I thought it was worth mentioning as I didn't want to go with this square design in the original as the perspective is a little bit weird. Anyway, that's where I'm up to. So plenty to do still across the first 2 levels, but I'm starting to see more little things the developers added. See you in the next one. Oh, and I almost forgot, I got rid of the logs at the start of the level because they hit you right at the start if you're not paying attention and they're bullshit.